square foot lot? That's something we have to look into because
1,500.
it's a pre-existing size lot, obviously, prior to the zoning change.
And Doug, you are live for public hearing.
Okay. Welcome everyone to the October 7th, 2020 Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. My name is Douglas Levy, I'm chairman. Start tonight's meeting off with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do roll call. Robert Peckham,
Here.
John Migliorone,
Here.
Christian Chamberlain,
Here.
Beth Mossworth,
Here.
Heather Robinson,
Here.
Jesse Redlaw.
Here.
Do I have a motion for the meeting minutes of last month's meeting?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the meeting minutes from the September 2nd, 2020 meeting.
I'll second.
Go ahead, Heather. Seconded by Beth. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Do I have an abstain?
Abstain from the last. Yeah.
Christian abstains. Okay, we had our discussion item. So tonight, our first application is 2020-083. The applicant here.
Yeah.
Melissa?
It's hard. We can't hear you.
I don't know the number of my.
Oh, no. This is from last month, so.
350 River Meadow Drive, David Elliott, sorry.
Okay.
Doug, can I interrupt just 1 second? Folks, if you guys are going to speak tonight at the meeting, you need to sign in, the sign up sheet going around. Thank you.
Good
evening.
Closed. Oh, sorry. You have anything further to add to your application?
No, not at all. No, I said my piece last time.
Any questions, comments, concerns from members of the audience? Heather, do we have anything on?
I am not seeing anything at this time.
Okay, this application is closed. With regard to application number 2020-083 for an error variance, I move to deny as follows. Whereas the zoning board is one, duly advertised and held a public hearing, two, is considered all relevant information, and three, is considered the potential benefit to the applicant versus potential detriment to the neighborhood or community in relation to such variances. Now, therefore, be resolved that the zoning board of appeals makes the following findings of fact. The variance will result in an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties. Having a sole garage on the property in a residential neighborhood is not an appropriate use. Two, the variance can be achieved by some other feasible alternative. The lot could be developed with a residence. Three, the variance requested is substantial. The development of the parcel without a residence is a substantial deviation from the code requirement. Four, the variance will not have a negative effect on the physical or environmental conditions. Five, the difficulty relating to variance was self-created. And be it further resolved that based upon the above findings, the zoning board of appeals hereby denies the variance as presented.
Second.
Second by Jesse. All those in favor of denial?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
I'm gonna abstain because I wasn't here for the last meeting.
Okay, Heather.
May I say
Christian
something?
abstains.
You might want to lean into your microphone because I didn't hear any of it. I don't care. I know that you denied it. It's fine. But you might want to lean into your microphone from now on.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, next application is 2020-196 by the town of Henrietta.
I assume we're talking about 4 John Street.
Yes.
That is correct.
So as you can see, we amended the application To address the issue brought up at the last meeting, the plan would be to demolish the existing porch and build a new porch on the front that comes to within 5 feet of the front line. The reason we're demolishing the existing porch is the existing porch is even closer to the front property line to 5 feet. And in talking with the property owner, I didn't feel that was appropriate for a future building anyways. So he agreed to the 5-foot line. So
Okay, any questions from members of the board?
And everything is okay as far as the legal side of this and the perpetuity of the
Yep.
request to achieve the goal of the owner as well as to achieve our goal of getting rid of a derelict building.
correct. Yeah, he has to, within 1 year's time of it's per section 48 to 9548, I think. He has 1 year's time to apply for a permit, and then before that permit expires, he has to commence work on the project.
Thank you.
I just want to say thank you to the supervisor for your creativity in getting this done and taking our feedback into consideration. I think this will be a great improvement for the town.
Completely.
Thank you.
Ditto. Thank you, Steve.
Any comments, questions, concerns from members of the audience? Are there anything?
I am on, just so you know.
Hi, Nick, we see you. Doug, I do not see any questions or comments.
Okay, this application is closed.
Mr. Chairman, with regards to application 2020-096 for an area variance, I move to approve. Whereas the zoning board has duly advertised and held public hearings, has considered all relevant information, and has considered the potential benefits to the applicant versus the potential detriment to the neighborhood and community. Now therefore be it resolved that the zoning board of appeals makes the following findings of facts. The variance will not result in an undesirable change to the characteristic of the neighborhood. The character will be improved when the old building comes down. The variance can be achieved by other feasible alternatives, but by keeping the building there, it will remain an eyesore, and we do want it down. The variance requested is not substantial. The variance will not have a negative effect on the physical or environmental conditions. The difficulty related to the variance was not self-created. Property owner is fine leaving it there, but would be better if it was taken down. And B, it further resolved that based upon the above findings, the zoning board approves the variance as presented.
I'll second that. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Our next application is application 2020-098 by Walter Mary Ellen Liss. Please state your name and address for the record.
Walter Liss,
Mary Ellen Liss.
5 Englewood Hill, 14534.
Questions from the board?
Mr. and Mrs. List, sorry.
Yeah.
I have a hard time getting that out tonight. So, based on the fact that you have a corner lot both to Englewood Hill and Tumbleweed, you're putting this addition, it's more or less like a sunroom?
Yeah.
It's more like a screen porch.
Right.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I see a lot of windows, that's why I wondered if it was.
Yeah, it's on the side because our backyard is really narrow and small, so, yeah.
So when you're saying screened in, even though it says window, is it just screen or is it more window that you?
Well, there'll be windows, but
Yeah.
it'll be like a 3-season.
Three
It will
season.
not be something that we'd be using year round. no.
Right.
Okay. And then this would gable into the existing roof
Gable
line
in.
that you'll
Yeah.
have skylights in?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And any foundation under it, or is it gonna sit on a platform?
No, it'll be on platform.
And any thought to like what brought about this desire?
Well, because we like being outside and that way there won't be mosquitoes and. so we
Utilizing
can-
that side
yeah,
of the house
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Versus the rear.
versus the rear. Yeah, we like that.
Well, the way our
Road.
yard is, it's really narrow backyard.
Okay.
So we really can't do it in the backyard.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Any other questions from members of the board?
I don't have-
Questions, comments, concerns from members of the audience? Heather, you have any?
Just checking all the places. I got nothing.
Okay, this application is closed.
Okay, thank
Mr.
you.
Chairman, in regards to application ZBA 2020-114 for an area variance, I move to approve as follows. Whereas the zoning board has duly advertised and held a public hearing, has considered all relevant information, and has considered the potential benefit to the applicant versus potential detriment to the neighborhood or community in relation to such variance. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the zoning board of appeals makes the following findings of fact. The variance will not result in an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties. The variance cannot be achieved by other feasible alternative. This was the best placement for this location. The variance is not substantial. The variance will not have a negative effect on the physical or environmental conditions. The difficulty related to the variance was self-created, and be it further resolved that based upon the above findings, the zoning board of appeals hereby approve the variance as presented.
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next application is 2020-099 by Tu Tang. Can you just wait a second? You had a question?
I'm sorry?
Did you have a question?
Yes, I did.
Okay,
I'm new to all this, so again, we're 114, so the variance is okay as it stands. The one you spoke of,
The-
or was that for the prior?
for which variance?
It's application 2020-114. I thought that's.
We haven't hit that one yet.
Yeah, you're good.
We just did 98.
Okay, I apologize. Thank you.
No worries.
Okay,
Hi, my name is Tu Tang, and I'm requesting to extend my driveway just a little bit for my mom. She's 65 and she wishes to have a little bit more bigger driveway so she can park her car. And my kids have a little more room to play because the driveway roll down to the street. So it will be safer if I have a little bit more room for them to play in the driveway.
can you also state your address, please?
69 Chesapeake Landing, sir.
Thank you. Questions from the board?
Mr. Tang, with, so I know you're looking to extend by 14 feet. Within that extra area, what are you planning to store on that part of the driveway?
And like I said, my mom, 65, she wished to park her handicap parking into that so she can have more room to open her car. And she planned to have us put out her handicap. She have a handicap chair, so it's easier for her to push out her handicap chair and get out of the car. So if she would have a little bit more driveway.
Okay, so it will be for her car and her equipment to
Yes,
assist her?
correct.
Okay, thank you.
There's already a fence there, correct?
Yes, that's why I built the fence to help her, so she won't drive over the neighborhood. So I make the fence to prevent her from overdrive into the neighbor property.
Okay.
Any other questions from members of the board?
Yeah, I want to continue that. Are you going to remove the fence to put in the driveway addition?
Oh, no, the fan is it's a foot away from the property line. The driveway, it's only a little bit from my original driveway. So from the fence to the driveways, there's still 8 foot, not do nothing. 8 foot spare space.
So the fence will stay.
Yes, I just built them.
Okay.
Any questions, comments, concerns from members of the audience? Heather?
Nothing on Zoom.
Okay, this application is closed.
Mr. Chairman, with regard to application number ZBA 2020-099 for an area variance, I move to approve as follows. Whereas the zoning board has duly advertised and held a public hearing, has considered all relevant information, and has considered the potential benefit to the applicant versus the potential detriment to the neighborhood or community in relation to such variance. Therefore be it resolved, the zoning board of appeals makes the following findings of fact. The variance will not result in undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties as other houses in the neighborhood have driveways where they are extended. The variance cannot be achieved by some other feasible alternative, as the need for the extension of the driveway is for safety of the kids as well as additional parking for the elder resident. The variance requested is substantial. The variance will not have a negative effect on physical or environmental conditions. The difficulty relating to the variance was self-created. However, there are other properties in the neighborhood with the same condition, and the positives outweighs the negatives. And be further resolved that based upon the above findings, the zoning board of appeal hereby approve the variance as presented.
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Next application is 2020-100. Jacqueline and Johnny Munsav.
It could be on Zoom.
Yes, they are on here. Johnny and Jacqueline, are you there?
Yes, okay, there you go. Hi.
Hello.
Good evening. Can you state your name and address for the record, please?
29 Riverview Drive, Rochester, New York, 14623.
Questions from the board?
What is the general purpose for your fence that you're looking for?
Well, trying to keep a 2-year-old child in.
So it's imprisonment. That's what I understand.
Yes, basically.
You currently have a toy area up front right next to your driveway.
Yeah, we have a playground area. Yep, because the back of our yard is not usable. It drops off into the river.
Okay. And so you're going to put the fence on the street side of that play area?
Yes. We're gonna put it along like the neighbor's side, like the side of the playground, and then across the front. So that way he can't go towards the street either.
Before your driveway.
Yeah, before the driveway.
Okay.
What do you want?
Right, baby? Yeah.
Perfect.
If that makes sense. I think there should be a plan there with highlights.
There is. I just don't have reference under to the toy area. And so I just want
Okay.
to make sure that
Yep. So if you look at where the fence line is that we drew, then it would be, take me for a walk, honey. It would be in the, like the front right.
got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm okay with this.
I'm okay.
Any other questions for members of the board? Questions, comments, concerns from members of the audience?
Nothing on my side, Doug.
Thank you. This application is closed.
Mr. Chairman, with regard to application number 2020-100 for an area variance, I move to approve as follows. Whereas the zoning board has 1, duly advertised and held a public hearing, 2, has considered all relevant information, and 3, has considered the potential benefit to the applicant versus the potential detriment to the neighborhood or community in relation to such variance. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the zoning board of appeals makes the following findings of fact. The variance will not result in an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties, as multiple neighbors have fences. The variance cannot be achieved by some other feasible alternative, as the existing fence is rusty and needs to be replaced. The variance requested is not substantial. The variance will not have a negative effect on physical or environmental conditions, as the proposed fence is replacing an existing fence and adding safety for a child. The difficulty relating to the variance was self-created, and be it further resolved that based upon the above findings, the Zoning Board of Appeals hereby approves the variance as presented.
I'll second that.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next application is 2020-101 by Paul and Joyce Camilla.
Doug, just real quick, who seconded that application?
Bob did.
Bob did.
Bob did, and did somebody oppose?
I did.
You did? Okay, thank you.
Check your minutes.
You're very quiet tonight, my dear.
I've been told that. My mic's on, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I can definitely hear you. It's just a little bit softer.
Okay. Can you state your name and address for the record, please?
Paul DiCamillo, 25 Lancelot Lane.
Welcome, Paul. Thank you. Could you explain to us what you're doing as far as the fence is concerned and what the purpose is for it?
We have no backyard, and we have a porch on the side of our house facing Elaine with a patio, so that is our hangout area.
Yep.
We have two small dogs that they're pretty good, but if you don't put them on a leash, there's a lot of dog walkers in our neighborhood. They will go after them or vice versa. We thought about invisible fence, but that won't keep the other dogs out. So we wanted to attach it to the existing 4-foot fence that's there and just make a little spot in the front yard so we can open up our sliding glass doors and let them out. And then the same with when the grandkids are over, they can't run into the streets.
Now, the 4-foot fence that you just referenced that's already there, is that yours or your neighbor's?
I believe it's my neighbor's.
Okay. That's all the questions I have.
There are questions for members of the board? Questions, comments, concerns from members of the audience?
Nothing out here.
Yeah, this application is closed.
So with regards to applications number 2020-101 for an area variance, I move to approve as follows. Whereas the zoning board has duly advertised and held a public hearing, has considered all relevant information, and has considered the potential benefit to the applicant versus the potential detriment to the neighborhood or community in relation to such variance. Now therefore be it resolved that the zoning board of appeals makes the following findings of fact. The variance will not result in an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties. The property has an odd shape for a corner lot, and this solution should be the best option for the property and the neighbor. The variance cannot be achieved by some other feasible alternative. And again, due to this lot dimension and layout, this is the only feasible option that is reasonable. The variance requested is not substantial. The variance will not have a negative effect on physical or environmental conditions. This layout should not have a negative effect on those conditions since it is relatively small. The difficulty related to the variance was not self-created. The issue is due to the lot shape and layout. And be it further resolved that based upon the above findings, the Zoning Board of Appeals hereby approve the variance as presented. And be it further resolved that this approval shall be subject to the following conditions, that the fence will be approved as presented.
Second. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, John.
Seconded by John. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed? Okay, Heather?
Yes, I got you.
Okay, motion carried.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Next application is 2020-102 by Nathan Hopkins.
Good evening.
Can you state your name and address for the record, please?
Nathan Hopkins, 2156 Highland Drive.
Why do you need the extra 4 feet?
So when we had our house sided, I removed the front stairs. It was a concrete preform. It sank in on the house and with water was running towards the foundation. So I removed it so when they sided the house, they could seal it and everything would be watertight, no damage to the house anymore. And I didn't realize that putting wooden stairs would be difficult. So these are just replacing the concrete preform. And yeah.
Okay. Any other questions from members of the board? Questions, comments, concerns from members of the audience?
Nothing out here.
Okay, this application is closed. With regard to application number 2020-102 for an area variance, I move to approve as follows. Whereas the zoning board, 1, has duly advertised and held a public hearing, 2, has considered all relevant information, and 3, has considered the potential benefit to the applicant versus the potential detriment to the neighborhood or community in relation to such variances. Now therefore be it resolved that the zoning board of appeals makes the following findings of fact. 1, the variance will not result in an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties. Many neighborhood homes have similar front decks. 2, the variance cannot be achieved by some other feasible alternative. The size of the deck required by the applicant makes the variance size necessary. 3, the variance requested is not substantial. 4 foot is minimal. 4, the variance will not have a negative effect on the physical or environmental conditions. 5, the difficulty relating to the variance was self-created. And be it further resolved that based upon the above findings, the zoning board of appeals hereby approve as presented.
I'll second.
Second by Heather. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next application is application 2020-103 by Michael Johnson. Hi, can you state your name and address for the record, please?
Michael Johnson, 68 Park Acre Road, Pittsford, New York, 14534.
Questions from the board?
Makes sense to me. What's the reason that you're putting the additional gabled roof on the front of your house?
So recently we installed a new door on the front of our house. The door is black in color as well as the 2 side lights. So that part of the house faces the south, which gets a lot of sun. So the main reason for adding this portico is to preserve the door and prolong its life. Being black, it's going to obviously retain a lot of heat. Second part is going to be we want to keep people who come to our front door away from the weather, so it can also keep them dry if it's raining out. So those are the 2 main reasons, but also the aesthetics would be very appealing. It's a colonial house, very boxy, so at least this would give a little bit of dimension and some architectural appeal.
Thank you.
Other questions from members of the board? Questions, comments, concerns from members of the audience?
Nothing.
This application is closed.
Mr. Chairman, with regards to application 2002-103 for an area variance, I move to approve. Whereas the zoning board duly advertised and held a public hearing, has considered all relevant information and has considered the potential benefit to the applicant versus the potential detriment to the neighborhood or community in relation to such variance. Now therefore be it resolved that the zoning board of appeals makes the following findings and facts. The variance will not result in an undesirable change to the characteristic of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties. The variance can be achieved by some other feasible alternative, but the way the house is positioned, they're putting this up to block some of the sunlight that hits the front of the house. The variance is not substantial. The variance will not have a negative effect on the physical or environmental conditions. It will give the front of the house better curb appeal. The The difficulty related to the variance was self-created. And be it further resolved that based upon the above findings, the zoning board of appeals hereby approves as presented.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Seconded by Bob.
Sure. I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Next application 2020-104 by Rebecca and Joe Hogan.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm Rebecca Hogan, 103 Campfire Road North. That's Henrietta 14467.
So why are you wanting to extend your driveway or widen your driveway? What's,
So it's very narrow at the bottom and then it kind of opens up to double wide at the top, double wide at the top. But it's just not wide enough. We have two trucks, like, work trucks. And my SUV because my son drives. So we just are looking for a little bit more room to be able to park without having to always move around cars. So my son can stop parking in the front yard. Drives me
okay, so
crazy.
basically just for, 3 cars you have in your,
Yeah, 3 vehicles.
3
yeah.
vehicles, okay. And is it going to be asphalt when you put down or, okay.
It will be.
Anything else?
Would it just be easier to move your son out?
Yes. it will. Yes, it will. We're this close.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
I'm in the same boat. Got it.
Now, the extra 4 feet, is that gonna be suitable for your needs and?
I think it would be, yes. I
Okay.
think it sits at 17 now. 20, I believe it's 20 feet is allowed without a variance. So we're actually only looking for an additional 3 feet, but it should be plenty wide, yes.
Okay.
And you're going to narrow it down to 20 feet at the road.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from members of the board? Questions, comments, concerns from members of the audience?
Quiet here.
This application is closed.
Mr. Chairman, with regards to application number ZBA 2020-104 for an area variance, I move to approve as follows. Whereas the zoning board has 1, duly advertised and held a public hearing, 2, has considered all relevant information, and 3, has considered the potential benefit to the applicant versus the potential detriment to the neighborhood or community in relations to such variances. Now therefore be resolved, that the zoning board of appeals makes the following findings of fact. The variance will not result in an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties. This size width of driveway will not look out of place. The variance cannot be achieved by some other feasible alternative as the applicant desires more room to park their vehicles. The variance requested is not substantial as the driveway width desired is similar to others in the neighborhood. The variance will not have a negative effect on physical or environmental conditions. Changes to drainage will not be significant. The difficulty relating to the variance was self-created as the applicant wants more space than the current driveway allows. And be it further resolved based upon the above findings, the zoning board of appeals hereby approve the variance as presented.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Heather. I'm just picking them now. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Wait, did Heather actually second that?
Heather did.
I was about to, but Bob
We-
beat me.
I was a
I think you're just messing with me now, Doug.
She did, she moved it. Next application is 2020-105 by Portfolio Enterprises.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Salafi. I'm the owner of the house on 14 Notre Dame. I have a similar situation to Mr. Hopkins where I had some concrete steps that were deteriorated, could not be fixed. We replaced them with pressure treated lumber, not realizing that if you did that, now it requires a variance. The location was not changed. All we did is just replace the steps with pressure treated lumber with, I thought it would have been okay.
Questions from the board?
No.
Questions, comments, concerns from members of the audience?
Nothing.
This application is closed.
Mr. Chairman, in regards to application ZBA 2020-105 for an area variance, I move to approve as follows. Whereas the zoning board has, 1, duly advertised and held a public hearing, 2, has considered all relevant information, and 3, has considered the potential detriment to the applicant versus the potential detriment to the neighborhood or community in relation to such a variance. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the zoning board of appeals makes the following findings of fact. The variance will not result in an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties. The wood entrance is to replace broken concrete steps and improve the entrance safety. The variance cannot be achieved by some other feasible alternative. The variance is not substantial as the setback reduction is 4 foot and other reductions of similar setback adjustments. The variance will not have a negative effect on the physical and environmental conditions. The difficulty relating to the variance was self-created. However, the need for a safe entranceway is needed. And be it further resolved that based upon the above findings, the zoning board of appeals hereby approve the variance as presented.
Second.
Second by Jesse. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Next application is 2020-106 by Jacqueline Tepfer.
Jacqueline Tepfer, the address is 83 Kramer Street, Henrietta, New York, 14623.
So you were looking, you recently had a fire and you had to, which demolished the door as well as the stairwell.
Yeah, so we bought the house well after the fire. So it's
Okay.
kind of just been an eyesore sitting there, I think, since January of 2019. And I bought it this past July with the intention of flipping it and reselling it. And the most damage was done to, it's kind of like an addition, probably, I think, from the 80s. Maybe it was a porch, but it became living space at some point. The door was on the side and it was all burnt up and the stairs going into it were completely destroyed as well, very unsafe. So honestly, for curb appeal and to improve the look compared to the rest of the neighborhood, we just moved that door to the front, which then required us to have a setback variance because we're getting that permitted as well. And my understanding is that it has to be a 4-foot platform and then stairs off to the driveway.
Okay. Now you're going to be putting these stairs in?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure.
Yep.
I have no further questions.
Any other questions from members of the board? Questions, comments, concerns from members of the audience?
Nothing.
Application is closed.
Mr. Chairman, with regard to application number ZBA 2020-106 for an area variance, I move to approve as follows. Whereas the zoning board has duly advertised and held a public hearing, has considered all relevant information, and has considered the potential benefit to the applicant versus potential detriment to the neighborhood or community in relation to such variance. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the zoning board of appeals makes the following findings of fact. The variance will not result in undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties, as it will be an enhancement to the property and will allow access to the front door. The variance cannot be achieved by some other feasible alternative, as this is the only way to get access to the front door, and the stairs/deck is not excessive. The variance is not excessive. The variance requested is not substantial. The variance will not have a negative effect on physical or environmental conditions. The stairs/deck will add curb appeal to the property. The difficulty relating to the variance was not self-created due to a fire which destroyed the existing door and stairs where the stairs/deck needs to be redone. And be further resolved that based upon the above findings, the zoning board of appeals hereby approve the variance as presented.
Second.
Second by Christian. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Next application is 2020-107 by Justin Tran.
Present. My name is Justin Tran, 239 Blackwell Lane. I'm seeking to extend my driveway by 4 feet for a total of 23 feet, to just allow for 2 cars to park next to each other and to get the kids out of the car without having to stand within the snowbank or the grass. I have sought verbal approval from all adjacent and neighbors opposite to the property. And they have stated that they will put that in writing if needed.
Questions from the board?
Mr. Tran, will 23 feet be sufficient to meet your needs for parking both vehicles?
Yes, I believe so.
Any other questions from members of the board?
No.
Questions, comments, concerns from members of the audience?
Nothing here.
This application is closed.
Mr. Chairman, with regard to application number 2020-107 for an area variance, I move to approve as follows. Whereas the zoning board has 1, duly advertised and held a public hearing, 2, has considered all relevant information, and 3, has considered the potential benefit to the applicant versus the potential detriment to the neighborhood or community in relation to such variance. Now therefore be it resolved that the zoning board of appeals makes the following findings of fact. The variance will not result in undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties, as multiple neighbors have wide driveways. The variance cannot be achieved by some other feasible alternative, as no other option would meet the applicant's parking needs. The variance requested is not substantial. The variance will not have a negative effect on physical or environmental conditions, as the proposal will make it safer for the applicant's children to enter and exit the property. The difficulty relating to the variance was self-created. And be it further resolved that based upon the above findings, the Zoning Board of Appeals hereby approves the variance as presented.
I'll second. Second by John. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next application is 2020-108 by Josh Frizzell.
Present. Josh Frizzell, 16 Hayden Street, 14467.
Welcome, Josh.
Thank
Could
you.
explain to us what you're going to be doing here with this pergola?
We are building a pergola over our current patio that we built earlier this year. And upon finding out that we are within our house is built about 37 feet from the town road, Authors Avenue, and this being inside our fenced-in area, about the only spot where we could build a covered patio or a patio. We would like to add some shade to it as it's in sunlight for most of the afternoon, and the pergola would allow us to provide that with a little covering.
How high above the fence do you anticipate that pergola being?
The pergola is going to be 10 feet tall, and the privacy fence is 6 feet.
Okay. Well, no, I drove by it and I noticed there's a lot of large trees on the main road there, and I forgot the name of it.
Authors, correct.
So will the people on Authors really even be able to see this fence? I don't think they can. Not really.
I mean, there's probably like a 10-foot gap.
Okay. Authors, there it is. I have no more questions.
Other questions from members of the board? Questions, comments, concerns from members of the audience?
Nothing out here.
This application is closed.
With regards to application number 2020-108 for an area variance, I move to approve as follows. Whereas the zoning board has duly advertised and held a public hearing, has considered all relevant information, and has considered the potential benefit to the applicant versus the potential detriment to the neighborhood or community in relation to such variance. Now therefore be it resolved that the Zoning Board of Appeals makes the above findings of fact. The variance will not result in an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties. The addition of the pergola to the fenced yard should be a nice addition and fit in the neighborhood. The variance can be achieved by some other feasible alternative. There are other configurations that could work. However, this suits the applicant's needs the best. The variance requested is not substantial. This pergola is not a substantial addition to the property, and its size is manageable. The variance will not have a negative effect on physical or environmental conditions. The pergola is expected to have minimal impact on these conditions. The difficulty related to the variance was not self-created, and be it further resolved that based upon the above findings, the Zoning Board of Appeals hereby approve the variance as presented.
Second.
Second by Jesse. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
You too.
Next applications are 2020-109 and 110 by Aaron Barley.
Present.
Can you explain the need for the additional width to the driveway?
Yeah, so I'm in the same position as Mr. Tran said earlier with having a 2 and a 1-year-old trying to get them in and out of the vehicles. We have 2 large SUVs. We're constantly inside of the, on the grass, and again, snowbanks in the winter. We're also in a neighborhood where the houses are pretty close by. We have a lot of family and visitors here, so them parking on the street is a concern. We also have a fire hydrant in front of the street, which limits the on-street parking. We also spoke to both of our neighbors on both sides, and they gave us written permission to extend our driveway. And there is a house, a few houses down that have the same extension on their driveway as well.
Other questions from members of the board?
Mr. Barley, you say you have the written statements from the neighbors, but I do not see those statements in your application. Would you be able to provide those if they were requested?
Yes.
And the neighbors that approve that are the ones directly to the north?
So on both sides of my location are the neighbors that gave me the written permission. And I could get one across the street as well if needed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments, concerns from members of the board?
Yes, the side setback of 4 foot, are you going to be able to contain any snow removal within that 4 foot setback so it doesn't go over onto the neighbor's yard?
Yes. As far as me shoveling the driveway, I can make sure that no snow goes in their driveway. Or with snow blower, I can make sure that I'm blowing the snow in the opposite direction.
And Mr. Barley, do you think your needs could be met with a smaller variance, or do you need the full 7.5 foot variance and the full 4 foot setback?
Ideally, having the full 7.5 and 4 foot side setback would be ideal for my situation, especially with guests coming over. That way we could, at least fit another vehicle on that side without them trying to park on the street. And again, we do have that fire hydrant in front, which limits on-street parking. And my neighbors would probably rather have them park in the driveway than in front of their, houses.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, concerns from members of the audience?
Nothing here.
Application is closed. And you guys want to hold it for a discussion or?
No, I'm okay with it.
Okay with it?
Good. With regard to application numbers 2020-109, 2020-110 for an area variance, I move to approve as follows. Whereas the zoning board is 1, duly advertised and held a public hearing, 2, has considered all relevant information, and 3, has considered the potential benefit to the applicant versus the detriment to the neighborhood or community in relation to such variances. Now therefore be it resolved that the zoning board of appeals makes the following findings of fact. 1, the variance will not have result in an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties. Parking space added will be similar to others in the neighborhood. 2, the variance cannot be achieved by some other feasible alternative. The space requested is for 1 parking space. 3, the variance requested is substantial. 4, the variance will not have a negative effect on physical or environmental condition. 5, the difficulty relating the variance was self-created. And be it further resolved that based upon the above findings, the zoning board of appeals, excuse me, hereby approves the variance as presented.
Second.
Second by Beth. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Opposed.
That was opposed by Heather and Jesse. Motion carries.
Thank you.
You're all set.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Next applications are applications 2021-11, 2021-12 by Jeremy Lawrence.
Present. Address is 155 Planters Row, West Henrietta, New York, 14586.
Questions from the board?
Is there going to be a house next door on the side where you're asking to build this extension to the driveway?
The house that there is already a house built, but it's a side lot.
So it's a little bit of a distance relative to the one that's to your other side, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, there's a house there.
Yes.
And it's a little farther away because it's a side lot, a corner lot. So there would be.
So just a quick clarification, Mr. Lawrence, I may have misunderstood your answer. So on the side of your house where there's currently a decent amount of grass, is there going to be another structure built there? Is there going to be another home built there?
That isn't already.
No,
It isn't already there.
no, there will not be.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions from members of the board? Questions, comments, concerns from members of the audience?
Nothing.
This application is closed, or these applications are closed.
Mr. Chairman, with regards to application 2020, 111 and 112 for an area variance, I move to approve. Whereas the zoning board has duly advertised and held public hearings, has considered all relevant information, and has considered the potential benefit to the applicant versus the potential detriment to the neighborhood and community in relation to such variance. Now therefore be it resolved that the zoning board of appeals makes the following findings of facts. The variance will not result in an undesirable change to the characteristic of the neighborhood. The variance cannot be achieved by some other feasible alternative. The driveway space is limited and he needs additional space. The variance is not substantial. The variance will not have a negative effect on the physical or environmental conditions. The difficulty related to the variance was not self-created, or was self-created, excuse me. And be it further resolved that based upon the above findings, the zoning board of appeals hereby approves the variance as presented.
Second.
Second by Beth. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're almost to you.
You guys can sit, you know.
Next application is 2020-113 by Patrick and Nicole Lerman.
Yes, we're here.
Evening. State your name and address for the record, please.
Patrick and Nicole Lerman, 51 Overland Trail.
Hello. Couple questions we have. Looks like you're going to be taking down the existing shed. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay, and it's 8 by 8, so you want to have a 12 by 14 shed.
yes.
It's going to be something you're going to build yourself, or is it pre-made, prefab, or is it
It's pre-made shed that's going to be delivered.
delivered? Okay, that's going to be on the other side of the pool, basically on the back other side where there's because right now it's the one is next to the pool. It looks like.
That's correct.
But on the other side, further away. Okay. Do you plan on running any electricity to the shed?
Not at this point, no.
Right.
What's the main purpose for the shed?
Just running out of storage space, We have a lot of sporting equipments and camping stuff that we're doing, pool equipment. We're just looking to put some more things in storage.
Is this size gonna suit your needs for the, you're getting rid of the existing shed?
It will fit our needs, yes.
Now, how high is it?
I believe it's 10 foot high.
So with this shed, I noticed in your backyard, you already have a pool and a trampoline. With going up to the size of the shed, are you concerned at all about overcrowding the backyard?
We're going to be taking down the trampoline for the winter. And we're going to be taking down the other side, the shed on the other side. So we'll open up a lot more room. And we had a tree taken down in the back. So it opens up a little bit more of the room.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions from members of the board? Questions, comments, concerns from members of the audience?
Nothing.
This application is closed.
Mr. Chairman, with regard to application ZBA 2020-113 for an area variance, I move to approve as follows. Whereas the zoning board has 1, duly advertised and held a public hearing, 2, has considered all relevant information, and 3, has considered the potential benefit of to the applicant versus the potential detriment to the neighborhood or community in relation to such variances. Now therefore be resolved that the Zoning Board of Appeals makes the following findings of fact. The variance will not result in an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties. The shed will be located on the back of the property, backside of the property. The variance cannot be achieved by some other feasible alternative. The applicant wants to store their belongings on the property. The variance requested is not substantial. The size of the shed proposed is not too large compared to the size of the property. The variance will not have a negative effect on physical or environmental conditions. The impact of the conditions on the property will not be significant. And the difficulty relating to the variance was self-created. The applicant wants a larger shed for storage. And be further resolved that based upon the above findings, the Zoning Board of Appeals hereby approves the variance as presented.
I'll second.
All those in favor of this application, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good day.
Okay, what you been waiting for? 2020-114 by Justin Howell.
Well, how are you?
Say your name and address for the record, please. Can you explain what's happening with the garage setup? It looks like you have an existing garage and then a space behind it.
Yeah.
And then another space behind that.
Yeah, so this was my childhood home. I bought it back years ago, my first kid.
Can you get closer to the microphone? We can't hear you.
And we're gonna, finish the house. And we're gonna, as we're going to so we're putting in-law in the back. I'm on the older, they're married to the older. So there's gonna be an in-law to the plan, which I talked to actually. She said, I don't need a variance for that. So the garage itself, I want to extend, so we can do parking. If my older, her parents are there, and also I have less car that I would park in there. We have multiple kids. Trail or trailer.
Steve, can you check and see if that microphone is on? I don't hear the podium at all.
Okay.
So,
Doug, Heather, do you need him to restate all that?
Could he? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no worries. So I'm here for you, Heather. Go ahead.
Get as close as you can to the microphone.
Okay.
Because it's hard to hear you.
Yeah.
You might, if you're comfortable.
I mean, are you guys comfortable? Okay. So basically, this was my childhood home.
There it
I
is.
purchased it, after my dad passed, and we're in the midst of, I don't know if you guys have driven by, but in the midst of making it nicer, because it's honestly an eyesore for the neighborhood. I've spoke to all the neighbors. They're okay with things that I'm doing. But we're putting an in-law in the back because, again, my mother's older, her parents are older. So again, family is very important to us. So they'll eventually trickle in there.
And the garage addition is just that, so we have ample parking. I have a classic car I kept. That was my father's, and I'm going to finish that, park that in there. And then also, you know, I have a work trailer. We have multiple vehicles as well. And if they're still driving at that point, who knows? You know, again, we would have ample parking, because then I've never parked in the garage before. My wife never has throughout our life. So again, that would give us, you know, parking in the garage plus classic car in the back and things of that nature. And then, you know, if they're still driving, they park in the driveway, and, you know, we have, you know, additional backup vehicle as well.
What's the storage, what's the space in the middle though? On your plan?
In your drawing.
I would have to bring up the plan here.
So for verbal reference, in your drawing, there's 3 garage spots out front, 1 out back, but it appears on your drawing that there is a middle space that's.
Oh,
probably-
that's kind of in blue?
We don't have color.
Oh,
It's probably 10 feet by the width of the garage.
19 by 10.
I should have brought bigger plans. Okay, so that space, so the garage is going to be open into the additional garage. It's not going to be a separate entrance, you know, or anything like
So
that. So
there's
you can
no
drive through the
walls?
front to get to the back portion.
Okay, so there's no walls in there.
No, there is not.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
You're going to remove the rear wall of the existing garage?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay.
And I'm working with an architect
Architect,
and
yep,
things of that
okay,
nature
good.
as well.
So this is all the way straight through the 54 feet.
Yes, it's
Of the
from the
various
existing and then the additional. So the 54 is including what's pre-existing and what's going to be additional as well.
So is there like a overhead door in the very back?
There is an overhead door. Again, it's not to drive a vehicle or anything in, because you really can't get one in there. It's just to open it up. You know, summertime, if I want to cool things down, you know, daughter's playing in the backyard or whatever, just kind of give more light and things of that nature.
Okay, so the plan is that, I'm assuming that's the area for your classic car maybe, or?
Yes. So that would be parked in there, and then left and right or middle and right where we park our vehicles and leave one open, and, you know, mower, things of that nature and stuff like that.
But it is straight through the 54?
Yes, it is straight through.
So in the drawing that we had, I don't know if when he showed you, it looks like there were walls, so we were like, how's this working?
Yeah, you know, it does look like it, but it would be, you know, straight through and things of that nature.
So what do you plan for that extra space between where you park your classic car and the cars in the front?
Just toolboxes, things of that nature. I work on, you know, my own vehicles, things of that nature.
So in lieu of a storage shed? it's all
Yeah, I mean, there'd be,
contained.
you know, storing stuff in there. I ride a snowmobile, 4-wheeler, those types of things. Like, I know some people leave that stuff outside, but I don't. I try to take good care of myself, stuffed, so it lasts, so I don't have to purchase it ever again.
Now, is the in-law apartment going to be attached to that?
It is attached, and you can see there is a entryway from the garage portion. See the door swinging in,
Yep.
yes.
Gotcha.
For some of your equipment that you just talked about, like the tools, I think I heard you talk about a snow blower. If you put a shed on the property, could you make do with a smaller garage?
I mean, it's basically, you know, because like I said, I do work on my own stuff, so I want a space that's, you know, have enough space left to right and things of that nature to work on my stuff. I mean, I have an 05 truck with almost 300,000 miles because I, you know, maintain my own stuff. I won't allow anybody to even do an oil change, something simplified. It's just what my dad taught me and things of that nature.
Okay, so you're looking for not only just the storage space, but also the space to work.
Yes,
within there.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
And you're doing 3 separate doors, right? Or are you going to do one big and then one?
Yeah, there's going to be one door in the back, and then there's a man door on the right-hand side towards the neighbor Ed right there.
And there are 3 already.
There's 3 already there.
That front
In the
garage section is existing.
Yes.
You've looked at other ways to do this and you feel this is the best way?
Just because I need, you know, the depth and that, you know, I want to have a designated area to like work on stuff, you know, because again, if we're parking our vehicles in there, it gives me a spot to, you know, because again, I want to finish the car as well. And I plan on keeping it. It was something my father and I worked on in 2010 together and things of that nature. So I would like to finish it. And if she outlives me, she can have it, or my daughter.
Other questions from members of the board? Questions, comments, concerns from members of the audience?
Nothing here.
This application is closed. We need discussion.
I'm comfortable with it after hearing the testimony. That's my place.
I'm still gonna have to oppose. It's just too large of a variance. It's gonna be in perpetuity with the property.
Christian?
I'm okay with it. I'd approve it.
I'm just still right. I'm fine.
Okay.
Fine.
Okay. This application is closed, and do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, in regards to application ZBA 2020-114 for an area variance, I move to approve as follows. Whereas the zoning board has 1, duly advertised and held a public hearing, 2, has considered all relevant information, and 3, has considered the potential benefit to the applicant versus the potential detriment to the neighborhood or community in relation to such variance. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the zoning board of appeals makes the following findings of fact. The variance will not result in an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties, as the home has had several improvements to increase curb appeal. The variance cannot be achieved by some other feasible alternative, as an in-law addition is needed and storage of cars and other items is needed. The variance is not substantial. The variance will not have a negative effect on the physical or environmental conditions. The difficulty related to the variance was self-created, and be further resolved that based upon the abound findings, the zoning board of appeals hereby approve as presented.
I'll second.
Second by John. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Opposed.
Opposed by Heather and Jesse. Okay, our next application is 2020-115. by
You
Earl.
passed.
Okay,
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry, I'm not like good at this stuff. I really appreciate it, guys.
copy back?
Would you like this back?
Just curious, what's the car?
It's a 65 Ford Falcon.
Cool.
Yeah, but really appreciate it, guys. And again, sorry, I
Thank you.
don't understand
Doing fine.
this stuff very well. And thanks for bearing with us.
Have a
Have
good
a
night.
nice day.
2020-115 by Earl Morris.
Got 2 of these.
Gentlemen, thank you. I'm here to put up another shed. My wife asked me if I could tear down a lean-to, because that's what I first built when I first moved there. Then I put a shed, and when I had there, all I had was a snow shovel, a rake, a push mower. Over the years, I got a rider, a snow blower, a tiller. So I want to get this shed, and I tore down a lean-to, and I want to put a shed in the place of that and put all my tools back in that new shed. And we're getting older over the years. My wife's got a crawl space down in the basement where she keeps all the Christmas lights and stuff. I'd like to bring them out there and take them out in the shed and store them in the shed. Then she'd be able to go out there and take a pick, whatever she wants to do. So that's why I'm getting the shed. I left you the pictures and everything, what it was like. And it's in the backyard. And it's just right across from where my patio is in the back door. You go out the back, you see a little stone patio over there, right straight across back to the backyard, to the fence. The shed would be 4 feet from the fence. And the Amish is going to build a shed for me. So I have 4x4 runners on it. I'm going to put down stone and dirt, level it off, and they're going to bring it in if I get the permit. They're going to bring it in, set it up, and then I'm going to take that 1/2-inch marble and put a taper all the way around the shed. So it'll make it nice. It'll have a metal roof on it, vinyl siding, 2 windows, and that's what I got planned if it's approved.
Okay, now, are you gonna be bringing any electric to the shed? Or
No.
just for storage purposes?
No electric, no.
Okay. Now, you already have an existing shed on the property that's staying where it is, and you're just adding the additional shed, is that correct?
Yeah, right there where the lean-to was, that's where it's going to go right back in there where the lean-to is.
So he's got the picture of the lean-to right here.
Yeah.
So there'd be no alteration or not. It'd be the same thing. I just have to build up a mound and set the shed on.
But you're
That's-
keeping
and
the
level it
existing
off.
shed. You're keeping the existing shed?
There's going to be 2 sheds, correct, when you're done?
Yes, yes.
And Mr. Morris, with the addition of the second shed, do you feel you'll have enough space to meet your needs?
Pardon?
Do you feel you'll have enough space to meet your needs with both sheds?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, my one shed, that's got my fishing poles, my lawn chair stuff in there.
The important
Try to
stuff.
keep it neat and everything, you know. So she asked me, see if I can get another shed for us and see what I can do.
I have no further questions.
Any other questions from members of the board?
No.
Questions, comments, concerns from members of the audience?
Nothing.
This application's closed.
Mr. Chairman, with regard to application number ZBA-2020-115 for an area variance, I move to approve as follows. Whereas the zoning board has duly advertised and held a public hearing, has considered all relevant information, and has considered the potential benefit to the applicant versus the potential detriment to the neighborhood or community in relation to such variance. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the zoning board of appeals makes the following findings of fact. The variance will not result in undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties, as the shed will be behind the house and difficult to be seen from the road. The variance cannot be achieved by some other feasible alternative, as the existing shed does not meet the applicant's needs. The variance requested is not substantial. The variance will not have a negative effect on the physical or environmental conditions. The additional shed will have a positive impact on the property. The difficulty relating to the variance was self-created, as the applicant is requesting the variance for additional storage needs.
I'll second.
Oh, and be.
Oh, I thought you were done. I'm sorry.
It's okay. And be it further resolved that based upon the above findings, the zoning board of appeals hereby approve the variance as presented.
Now I'll second.
So when they come in to pick up the permit and how much is it?
You can drop off the application tomorrow. $90 is the permit fees for sheds.
I can.
You can drop off the, sir, tomorrow.
Tomorrow? Okay,
$90 is the fee
Okay.
for that.
all right,
And also thank you for your service.
okay. And thank you all very much. Have a good evening. Be safe going home.
Thank you.
Our
You as well.
application has been moved and seconded by Christian. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Meeting
Thank you.
adjourned at 8:15.
I'll second it.
Okay, we're all set, Heather.
Thanks. Closing up.